Welcome to another episode of Bolting In. Adam McGrath and Shane Anderson here with you. Shane, it's been a long spring and it may have got the better of our partner who we've seen in the back of buses, and we did just see minutes ago, but Hong Kong may have him and there's too many people over there with no Wi-Fi. So we go a man down, but he's done very well.
Yeah, the great man Maddie has succumbed, shall we say, to the exploits of Hong Kong. We couldn't get the right connection with him, but I'll tell you what, Adam, it certainly has been a fantastic carnival as we look back on the spring in Melbourne and Sydney, and certainly some outstanding racing all the way through.
Yeah, we got it all the way to the last weekend, didn't we? I mean, let's start with Imperatrice because she's probably been one of the best horses of the carnival. I jumped off and I said it could be the stupidest thing I ever do, and it was. It was very clear that it was a long way down the straight, but I mean, she just continues to go from strength to strength. We've seen it at the Valley to now do it at Flemington, to do it against these good fields. She's ticked a lot of boxes this spring carnival, and I think it just speaks, again, huge applause really to the stable to sticking to their plan. They never wavered, they never got tempted, and they've ended up winning every race they're targeted.
Yeah, Tiako Racing have been dominant forces in New Zealand for many, many years. One of the reasons why is they buy well and they program their horses well, and they're not influenced by outside voices. And I think the program of Imperatrice really showcases that superbly. Trainer Mark Walker and all involved with Tiako Racing, they set her for 4 races during the Melbourne Spring Carnival. She stepped out each time and was really impressive. Okay, the win in the Champion Sprint at Flemington probably visually wasn't her most impressive, but I think you can take a lot away from it. She was away from the tight, camber of the Valley where she really dominated those races, sprinting hard and fast off the bend and really blowing her rivals away. She had to sustain her sprint for a long period in the straight race on the weekend, and she won well. She is clearly the number one sprinting seed at the moment. All credit to her. Not often you see a horse be able to build a record quite like what she has and go through a spring carnival unbeaten. Particularly, when you're taking on the elites of the sprinters. Exceptional mare, exceptional training performance, and a real highlight.
Shane, I think it sort of helps us in this program here, obviously, that I'm watching a bit of the US, the Australian, the international. You're doing the same as well. And then we've got Maddie with all his local knowledge. I mean, a question without notice. I mean, where does she sit in the sprinting ranks? So I saw a lot of people saying, oh, she's the best sprinter in Australia now. I mean, is she that? Is she better than Think About It? Is she better than I Wish I Win? And if she is, how good is she?
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily think she's better than Think About It, better than I Wish I Win, better than Giga Kick if we can see him back at his best. I think all of them in a race, you could run it a few times and you probably get a few winners. What I think she has done, though, through this amazing programming of the stable is built a record that really puts her right at the top of the sphere because she hasn't been beaten for quite some time now. We saw her in the Autumn Carnival at the start of the year. She was impressive there. She's come back and she really has made all of her rivals look pretty second-rate when they've taken her on. But it's a different scenario when you're up against the best of the best at all times. Some of those races, you could probably pick a little bit of hole in the form of a couple of those runners, yet she's still beating them convincingly, as you would hope. But different scenario, if you were seeing a competitive contest over the spring with all of the big guns taking each other on, she'd find it hard. Would she probably come out on top most occasions? I'd think she'd be close to being favourite each time because her racing pattern, she's got a bit of tactical versatility. You reference I Wish I Win. He's pretty much a get-back, run-on type. Think About It's got speed and he's a tough on-pace sprinter. Giga Kick's also another get-back, run-on type. So it'll all come down to the venue and the type of tempo. But I think we're blessed with an enormous amount of depth in the sprint ranks at the moment. It's great to see.
We talked about some of the rides throughout the carnival, and we keep coming back to Mark Zahra and his brilliance as well. But the Champions Mile, is this one of the better rides just because it was so obvious in how it all happened? I mean, every single person, whether you watch racing every weekend or you're Damien Oliver, you all knew Prodigy was going to go out. You knew how the plan was going to foretake. But Declan Bates just rode so perfectly. He didn't panic. It was still pace. It's not like he's just gone out hard and hung on. He knew how she was traveling underneath. And in the end, she's held off 3 of the best milers in the country. And you can't say it's a fluke anymore. He sort of mentioned that post-race. He said a few people had said, they got lucky, they jagged it. I mean, you definitely can't say that after that performance.
Yeah, you summed it up superbly. All credit to Declan Bates. He's gone from being probably, a good jockey in a bunch of good jockeys to proving an extraordinary amount of tactical nous with the Group 1 wins on Pride of Jenny. Now, happy to say, well, not, I shouldn't say happy to say, but I was against her in both of the Empire Rose and also the Champions Mile because I literally didn't think she was good enough. I thought she was a good mare, but as you rightly say, when you're taking on the proven depths of the Mr. Brightsides, the Alligator Bloods, and the Fangirls, I thought she was going to be found wanting. If you go through and pick apart the sectional times of that front running ride by Declan Bates and the ability of that mare to sustain that tempo all the way through, it's one of the performances of the spring. The ride in particular, the way that he pretty much from, I think it was from around, the 1,000 metre mark to the 200 metre mark, the 200 metre sections all the way through were pretty much bang on identical. So it was always going to take an enormous task for any of those runners back in the field to try and get to her if she could sustain it. And she sustained it superbly. So she's gone from, in my assessment, and Declan Bates also, all credit to him, gone from my assessment of being, in that really good category to outstanding category. That was an amazing performance. All credit to the connections. Great emotional story around Pride of Jenny and the name of her. Just a true highlight. But Declan Bates, amazing ride. Big pat on the back to him. Big kudos. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and really, I guess we can tie a performance. I mean, the two wins obviously great. They're Group 1, so it's strong. But we can tie in now that performance at Moonee Valley where we saw Amelia's Jewel had to do everything possible to run her down, and that was when Amelia's Jewel was in her peak. And then obviously the form was franked again in the Champion Stakes because a Tissue who had been closing on Pride of Jenny in the previous start, I sort of looked at it and went, well, maybe this is just a little bit more value. And Chris Waller actually made mention that after the race, he said once he watched Pride of Jenny win, he thought Tissue's a big go here. The extra distance, that turn of foot, it was another really good performance, especially the ride by J-Mac.
Yeah, also highlights in that mile to middle distance, for want of a better term, 2,000 metre range that we have. The stocks of horse flesh, they're pretty evenly matched across the board. There's probably 6 or 7 in that top level tier that you run these races on a regular basis, you'll get quite a few winners. It's gone to the days of, the true champions standing head and shoulders above them all. They're all very good horses, all fairly evenly matched. And you make a good point, that the emergence of that mare's form through Pride of Jenny and the Tissue was big effort for both of those mares. But it just highlights, maybe the mares, the depth of those mares, weight for age races, very little between that of the open age races at the moment. So, yeah, Tissue, again, I was reluctant to side with her. All credit to you for finding her. But, she, again, went above and beyond my expectations in that race. There's a fair bit of talk around the ride of Jamie Spencer in that on the favourite, but at the end of the day, she was pretty impressive. She was a runaway winner, and she's now the number 1 seed based off that performance in the Australian middle distance ranks. It was a pretty impressive effort.
At Rose Hill, we had a couple of races as well. The Five Diamonds was another really good battle. Unspoken was the winner. Tell you what, Antino just didn't have anything go right all preparation, did it? Obviously had excuses, pulled up lame, but every time it just looked like Antino was going to win, either bumped or held up. Now lame, just didn't get the win that they probably did deserve throughout the carnival.
Yeah, good horse. But, he's not... I'm trying to think of the nicest way of saying this. He's just a very good horse, but he kind of needs things to go his way. He's... The difference between very good horses and those that really are at the top of the tree is that the ones at the top of the tree can get themselves out of trouble, or there's not an excuse after each and every performance type scenario. So I like him. I was with him on the weekend and was pretty frustrated from the outset where he wasn't the best to begin. I was expecting him to be close to the pace. You could sort of see after the first 50 to 100 metres of the race that things aren't going our way. But yeah, I like him. I'm pretty sure he'll bounce back and be competitive, whether they continue on through that sort of summer carnival period up in Queensland or freshen him up and try and target the autumn and the winter period where there's so much prize money still available. I do like him. I think there's more to come from him, but it's always tough in these big elite level races, the big prize money races, because not everything will always go to plan for you. Does he have the versatility? Does he have that that X factor to get himself out of trouble. He's yet to prove that. But I like him. He's a good horse. But all credit to the winner. That was a pretty impressive performance. Controlling the race, going for home at the top of the straight and holding the rivals at bay.
Speaking of impressive performances, the Golden Gift, there was a lot of horses making their debut. We weren't sure how they were going to go. We both sort of referenced the one form line, which was the Shangri-La Express, and the wide barrier, question marks, the price as well. It was short considering we didn't have so many unknowns, but the Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott stable, they have just been absolutely airborne throughout this season, and especially with two-year-olds. They're getting these early runners. They're coming to the track, and it was a really tough performance to overcome that barrier and continue to beat it. What was a pretty good field.
Yeah, very impressive performance. I liked the debutant in that race, Graham, just because of the price differentiation. But don't get me wrong, as I sort of said, and I know you tipped Shangri-La Express. What we saw on debut, and again what we saw on the weekend in the Golden Gift, it's a ready-made two-year-old. It's right at the top of the two-year-old ranks from what we've seen so far, because amazing ability to get out of the gates, find a position, travel sweetly, kick at the right time, and then sustain that sprint. Lots to like. And for those of my generation, I'm a little bit older than you, but like the one thing I've loved about Gay, watching her career all the way through, she learned very much from Tommy Smith, her legendary father. These two-year-olds are tough. They're well educated. They usually have 2, 3, 4 proper trials before they step out on debut. They know the game superbly, and that's what you want in these two-year-olds. That's why she has such phenomenal success. She buys the best of the best from the yearlings. She educates them thoroughly through. If they don't stand up to the education process, that's fair enough. But those that do, you tend to be the ones that you can see sustain their form all the way through their juvenile season. I really like this colt, Shangri-La Express. Really impressed by that performance. But as you say, I think the depth of talent coming through the Waterhouse Bott yard is quite amazing with these babies. It could be a pretty dominant season for them. I haven't seen anything yet from the other stables to suggest that they could knock them off. Particularly when the Magic Millions is only month and a half away, leading in and then into the other big races. They're the ones that I pretty much want to be with at this stage.
All right, before we take a look at 3 races and sort of close up our spring campaign here on Bolting In, it has been a good spring, some amazing performances, some good wins as well. I know, you've unearthed a horse like Militarise. You've been with Imperator the whole time and think about it, been very loyal with those. But is there a certain horse or a jockey or a performance that really stands out from you from the time we've been doing this show?
Yeah, I think, we look back over the Carnival, and all credit to you, Adam. You found so many winners consistently from the start of the Carnival all the way through to Flemington. I'm happy to admit I struggled with the Flemington Carnival for Melbourne Cup week this year, but you were seeing them really, really well all the way through. From my perspective, I think, to be honest, the 2 standout horses are Imperatrice in the sprint division, because she was able to go through and win all 4 of her starts so impressively, including, 3 Group 1s, plus, sustain her level of form all the way through was pretty impressive. I mean, she's an outstanding mare. But I think without a fight, it's only been 12 horses in history to win a Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup double. He did it at, in the higher levels of the weights for both races, and given supreme rides in both big races by Mark Zahra. So for me, the standout horses, one in the sprint was Imperatrice, the Caulfield Melbourne Cup winner without a fight. I think, very little between probably Mark Zahra and James McDonald in the riding ranks. You've got to remember, James had a slow start to the season because he had that injury in forced layoff very early on in the piece. But he was able to come back and sustain his form all the way through. And just some of those tight finishes, we saw it in the Cox Plate and the Derby, brilliant. But Mark Zahra, just as you've said numerous times, I mean, the level of consistency all the way through was impressive. What about you? What were the standouts from your perspective?
Yeah, look, definitely Mark Zahra. I think he just went into a league of his own throughout the Carnival. Some amazing performance there. And definitely giving a shout out to Declan Bates with that last win. There's nothing more I love than seeing different jockeys getting opportunities and different tactics and still pulling it off as well. So he gets a late shout out there with his performances. I really like Gold Trip's campaign. I love seeing horses, you win the Melbourne Cup. People a lot of the times think that's probably it. To come back, I think they went to the well too many times this preparation, but I thought he was still really good. And then Romantic Warrior is probably the other one with all of the hype coming across. You want to see for Australian racing as well, in the big scene, to see the Hong Kong viewers tuning in and the internationals taking a look. And I just love the way that, again, they were so honest with it. They told us they were 80% right the first time. They come out and win the Cox Plate. And even J-Mac said post-race after that, he thought if they had another run, they would have been even better. So they're probably the standout performances for me as well. But as we mentioned, it's just been a tremendous carnival. So many close finishes. And we've seen some really good horses coming through. But it doesn't finish there, Shane, because we've got one more week and we still need to find some winners. So we'll start with the Sir Rupert Clarke Stakes. It is at Caulfield, race number 8, over the 1,400 metres. Right now, Magic Time is $3.80 with Palmer Bet. I Am Me at $8.50. Straight Acer at $9. Villana at 13. Ayrton at 14. Munimac at 15. Chain of Lightning and Cause for Concern at $16. Who do you like for the Sir Rupert Clarke?
Yeah, Adam, a couple of points I just want to address at the top. Magic Time, I think, has got a great chance. Can't believe $3.80, though. I was hoping for a bigger price for Magic Time, so I'm steering away from the favourite. And I Am Me, who's the second favourite at the moment, is also one of the leading contenders for Hunter. At the time of us recording this show, we haven't got a clear indication of which direction they're going. I'm preferring they choose to go to the Hunter because I'm pretty keen on I Am Me's chances in that race. So for that reason, I'm steering to 2 at value prices here. My best is Ayrton each way. Now, Daniel Moore takes a ride here for Mick Price and Mick Kent Jr. Amazing record at Caulfield. 5 starts, 5 wins. Importantly, at the course and distance, 4 starts, 4 wins, including 2 starts ago when winning the Weekend Hustler from On Pace. He had the run of the race on that occasion, and he was pretty strong throughout the line. I'll tell you what, loved his run last start in the Damien Oliver at Flemington on Derby Day, Group 2 level. He was slow to begin from a wide barrier. He drifted back on purpose. The tactics were to take him all the way back to the rear of the field. He was over racing in the early stages of the race. But what I loved the most was once they got him to the outside upon straightening, he really got into clear galloping room about 300 metres from home, and he started to extend superbly there. It was probably 6-7 lengths off the speed once he got into the clear. By the time they got to the line, he was only about 1.5 lengths from the horse that won the race. I just love the way that he worked through the line there, third up at his favourite track. Ayrton at around that $14 mark, I think, is a fantastic each-way bet in the Sir Rupert Clarke. My value is Chain of Lightning for Peter Moody, Catherine Coleman. Billy Egan will take the ride. Now, I think she looks dangerous in this third up at a distance that she's shown previously. Very good format. Go back to the spring of last year. She won the Group 2 Tristark over the course and distance against the mares. She's also run 5th in a Stradbroke, 4th in a Tiara in Queensland. So her form at the distance in elite level races is very good. She rarely runs poorly. And her 2 starts this campaign, I thought the first up effort when third in the Scalacci over 1,100 metres was bang on what you would be hoping for a return run. And then she went to Flemington last start in the Rising fast down the straight. She was behind that tearaway leader, Najim Sahale, and she was also sort of stalking Spacewalk, the eventual winner of the race. She got outpaced at the critical stage of the race, but what I loved, though, she wasn't dropping back. She took a while to really muster her speed, and then she was strong again on the line and through the line to suggest that with a step up in trip, she's going to be really hard to beat. So I'm happy to be with Ayrton each way, $14 as my best in the Sir Rupert Clarke. I'm happy to be with Chain of Lightning each way, $16 in the race. Fantastic contest, but still not knowing what's happening with I Am Me and thinking the favourites a little bit unders to my eye. I'm happy to play a little bit deeper in the market here, and I like them both at the each way. What about yourself?
Yeah, nice prices, no doubt about that. Yeah, look, I've got similar thoughts as you. Now, I think they should go to Sydney with I Am Me, but I noticed that Blake Shin's named Victoria, and they don't have the jockey named at the moment. It's Sydney. Well, the last time I checked, at least anyway. So I'm thinking they're going Victoria, which does make it interesting. Look, I got Magic Time on top, but I was with you. I was sort of hoping for 450, 460, maybe even closer to 5s, to be honest. I like the 4-year-old mare. She'll carry just the 53.5. She's won 4 from 7. You go through her form and, you see that she was a winner of the Group 3 2 starts back. She was beaten less than 2 lengths to Aspura. We know how good that horse is going now. Beaten 0.3 behind Espiona. We both liked it when it was able to win. So I think the form really holds up. And obviously the distance, she's just a progressive type. So I've got her on top. My value bet, I did like Chain of Lightning. I looked at that. I've got an even bigger price. Gone with the Inferno. Hasn't won for 804 days, but does drop 3.5 kilos and has only been beaten 3 lengths by Imperator its last 2. So we're talking about how good she is and is she the best sprinter in Australia? Dropping that 3.5, I think, is vital. He's won from one of the distance, and I think he'll appreciate the speed in the race. So I've gone the Inferno to potentially turn back the clock and break that 804-day drought. The 1,000 Guineas at Caulfield, race number 7. It's over the mile. Skybird 360, Coevolante at $4, Jolly Star 7, Komochi 10, Arctic Glamour, at 10 as well, Zurian at 11, Quick Star at 18, and Karina Queen at $19. A few different form lines to look at here, Shane. Which way are you going?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this race. I will say, just want to make one point. The thing that's a little bit frustrating, it'll build over time though, with the shift of the programming of the spring. So the 1,000 Guineas, which was traditionally run during Caulfield Cup Carnival, and also the Sir Rupert Clarke, which was run earlier in the spring, now being sort of the end of the Carnival. A lot of the traditional form lines that you would look at for the horses going to these races are now a bit different. You know, Sir Rupert Clarke, I used to love horses coming off that sort of 1,200 metre program, particularly Flemington races, going to that. It's different now. And the 1,000 Guineas in particular, trying to work out what's going to be the most relevant form lines into the future. So just slight alert on that. However, I'm happy to side with horses that have gone through similar patterns here. I just want to give acknowledgement to Skybird, the unbeaten filly, the favourite at the moment. I think she's very good, and her win at Moonee Valley was solid last start. And she had a really impressive gallop at the Caulfield early this week. So if you want to be with the favourite, fantastic. But I'm happy to go with the fillies that have been coming through the Champagne Stakes and the Tranquil Star as the stronger form reference. My best is Coeur Volant for Mike Moroney, Blake Shin. She's won both of those races, the Champagne and the Tranquil Star, getting great rides on both occasions. And she's been authoritative, margin not always great, but she never really looked like losing those races to my eye. And I think the thing about her is she still looks to have upside. On pedigree, she's by Poitiers, who his progeny, 1,600 metres up to 2,000 metres, seems to be where they excel. And just on her racing pattern, it looks like she's really going to relish the mile. She's drawn to get another gun run with Blake Shin, from barrier number 5. And she's got tactical versatility. She showed really good speed last time out. Before that, we saw her settle off the pace and work home strongly. So Coeur Volant is the one that I've put as my best, and I think she's going to run enormously well. So at $4, I'm happy to be with her. My value bet is Zurian, Mark Walker and Mickey D. This New Zealand filly who has been targeted for this. She only had a light 2-year-old preparation in New Zealand, include winning a big New Zealand featured juvenile race. And then her 2 runs in Australia have been very good. First up in the Champagne Stakes, she was back towards the rear of the field from her outside barrier, but I love the way that she worked home through that race. And Mark Zahra, who rode her on that occasion, said that she was a little bit green. She was going to learn a lot from that. And I think we saw that when she went to the Tranquil Star last start at Caulfield. She was unfortunately caught deep all the way through that. And, she had to make a move at around the 700 metre mark. So they probably went a bit earlier than what they were originally hoping for. She was there to win at the top of the straight. She stuck to her guns quite well to be beaten a length and a half behind Coeur Volant. And she's another one, I think, getting up to 1,600 metres is going to suit ideally. I'm looking forward to another big run from her. So my best for the 1,000 Guineas, I'm happy to be with Coeur Volant. My value bet is Zurion each way. So you're getting $4 Coeur Volant, $11 Zurion. But it really does shape as being a very, very good race this year, the 1,000 Guineas. What about yourself?
Yeah, as you said, open race. I'm doing the same. I'm giving a shout out to Cavour Valence, so I'm glad that you're on it. I'm looking at the next 2 lines. I've got Jolly Star as my best bet for the race. J-Mac, Chris Waller, Barrier 1, flew home last time from 16 with Moreira in the saddle. I think, as shown in the previous starts, that this horse can settle a little bit closer. I don't think they need to be second pair like they have been. I think now, seeing that turn of foot from well back, if they can sit midfield, get a really nice run behind them from barrier 1, I think this horse can show a really nice turn of foot. So Jolly Star would be my best there. And I'm going with Komochi as my value bet because the most experienced runner in the race, 8 starts, has never finished worse than 3rd. They get a nice draw from barrier 4. Craig Williams in the saddle. They can also settle a little bit closer. She's shown she enjoys the mile when she finished 2nd in the Group 1 flight. And this preparation, she's been in 1 Group 1, 3 Group 2s, and a listed race. So when she hasn't finished worse than 3rd, she has the experience of being in all of these really tough races as well. So I think she can give a really bold performance in that race. So Jolly Star and Komochi for me. The Hunter Hunter at Newcastle is over 1,300 metres. Marzu currently at 550. IME, we're not sure where it's going, but it's at $6. It looks a better race for it. Far Too Easy, $6. King of Sparta at 9. Cold Crush at 9. And Opal Ridge at 950. Who do you like in this one? The Hunter over 1,300.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge for me because I thought if IME went in this direction, this 5-year-old daughter of I Am Invincible would be very, very hard to beat. And I was pretty excited by that price of around $6. So I'm going to just shift my focus and put it down as 2 equal best in this race. So I'll start with IME. Last time we saw her, she chased home Imperator in the Manikato, beaten 3 and a quarter length. She was, small field. She was back towards the rear, but I like the way that she worked home well on that occasion. And getting back up in trip, you think would be ideal for her. The start before, again, she won the Sydney Stakes at Group 3 level. She beat Bella Nipotina and Cold Crusher on that occasion, where she was bang on speed. She began well. She controlled the race, and she kicked on really strongly there. So. If they go to the Hunter, I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat. And $6, particularly for the fact she's drawn well, is an attractive bet. But as you rightly say, the jockey booking suggests she might be going in the direction of the Sir Rupert Clarke. So the other one I do want to back in the race is Cold Crusher. So early markets for Cold Crusher is at $9. Joe Pride, Tyler Schiller in the saddle. And again, this 6-year-old son of Terfontaine has been pretty good, pretty consistent all the way through the spring. He's got natural gate speed. So from barrier number 2, bang straight out of the barriers, expect him to lead or just ride on the heels of the leader. And from there, he'll get his chance. You go back through his form of the spring. He's been pretty good. Went 4th in the Sydney Stakes behind IME, and then 4th behind Bella Nipotina, not too far away from the star. Think about it after leading last time out. So they're the 2 that I'm going to play in the race. Caveat being, we don't know officially at the time of this show going to air what they're doing with IME, but happy to be with both IME and Cold Crusher at the prices for the Hunter.
Yeah, I need to say it as well. I'm with IME if it goes to the Hunter, but I think they're not, so I've got the other 2 in there. I'm going to make Marzu. I'm going with the Drought Breakers, 800 days the previous. Marzu hasn't won for 550. My thing with Marzu is there looks to be some rain in Newcastle Thursday, Friday, and this horse just grows a leg when it's got that rain affected track. So I'm hoping that that's the case. Drops in the weight. I think that will certainly be beneficial from barrier 6 with Nash in the saddle. My value bet's King of Sparta. I think this horse is going really well again. We saw last preparation beat 2 lengths by Imperator in the William Reid, beaten 1.5 by Think About It up in Queensland as well. Very close first up in Bobby Lewis, and then drops to 57.5. And if there is that rain around, it's no concern at all. So Marzu and King of Sparta for me. Shane, we're getting close to the end. Have you got anything else that takes your fancy from any other tracks for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the 2-year-old race at Newcastle. I'm not going to have a bet in the race, but I just want to see how that plays out on Saturday, particularly with Graham missing last week and running in that race. So, but I'm happy to play at Caulfield. I quite like the Country Cup. Now, Maktub we're probably going to get around that sort of $5, $5.50 mark for Maktub in race 9, number 5. Drawn beautifully in barrier number 3 for Blake McDougall. Last start winner of the Sale Cup when he controlled the race again. He was bang on speed there and really asserted at the top of the straight to win quite impressively. Start prior at Caulfield, he won over 1,700 metres, benchmark 80 class. I quite like him. He's still, somewhat lightly raced. He's only had 10 career starts, this importer galloper. I think he's going to be very hard to beat in that race 9. And I'm also quite keen on race 10, the How Now. She dances for Peter Moody, Catherine Coleman, Linda Meach in the saddle. She's been outstanding, I thought, in her past 2 starts. She won the Northwood Plume at Caulfield, and then she went to the Chautauqua, Moonee Valley, to win there as well. So her form lines are great. She's got natural gate speed. I don't mind her being drawn out wide. I think she can sort of work her way across, either lead on her own or be right in the prominent position to assert at the top of the straight. I'm happy to be with her. She dances in the final event, the How Now. So race 9, Maktub, and race 10, She Dances at Caulfield. What about yourself?
All right, I'm going to go west for the final weekend, and I'm going to be a gentleman. I'm going to tip my own horse that I bred and that I own majority because I can't bet on it since my jockey's riding it, so someone else might as well. Race 3, number 7, Count the Sessions. This horse was done. We were retiring it after Albany. I've given it to Holly Taylor. She has just turned it around. We ran last weekend, held up the entire straight. He's going really well. This is his hardest test. We were $20 last weekend. I think we could get close to 30s. So I'm thinking 1 by 5. As I said, it is definitely his toughest test, but I think he is going very, very well. So count the sessions, race 3, number 7, and then race 4, number 8 in the RJ Peters Admiration Express. This horse won the 1,000 Guineas, was third in the Oaks, and it needs to really run well this weekend if they're going to head to the Railway. And I think they believe that she is up to that level. So race 4, number 8 as well. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au and make sure you are betting responsibly with Palmerbet. Shane, that wraps up what has been a brilliant spring. It's been a brilliant spring with the three of us. We finished on just us two, but looking forward to more racing coming up. You were brilliant in Queensland last time, so I'm looking forward to getting back up there as well. But it's been a lot of fun.
It certainly has, Adam. Love working with you and Maddie and the entire team at Palmerbet. It's always great to do this show. And to our audience, thank you for being a part of this throughout the Spring Carnival. It's been a lot of fun from our side. Hopefully we found you a few winners along the way, and we've seen some brilliant racing all the way through.
Yeah, exactly right. And hopefully the winners do continue this weekend as well. So that's it for now, but I'm sure we'll be back again very shortly as we thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.